It says you're live.
Good morning. So we're not going to be on LinkedIn then, but good morning. Welcome to About Senior Solutions. And I don't see where we are on. Oh, here we go. Hi. So I guess we've been on for 35 seconds. Welcome. I'm Mary Winters. I am a gerontologist, the owner of About Senior Solutions, and you're watching Visionary Aging. Steve's with us right now because we had a little broadcast snafu. So Steve, why don't you go ahead and ask your caregiver question?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. So our caregiver question comes from a viewer. She has an elderly parent, her elderly mom, and she's not able to manage her mom's affairs due to her other life commitments. She has a sibling, but she doesn't think the sibling should be managing their mom's affairs, and she wants to know what her options are.
That's a really good question. And as you can see, I'm behind the cityscape here in San Francisco. They have an annual event called the PFAC Conference, which is Professional Fiduciaries of California, which I happen to be at right now as a speaker, one of their speakers. And when you are not able to do this, or you have no family, or somebody shouldn't be doing this, there are professional fiduciaries who are licensed in the state of California. Other states have different requirements, so they call them guardians. And they will step in. They will step in as a trustee. They will step in as the decision maker for your health. They'll step in to pay your bills. And oftentimes, as care managers, we support the fiduciaries in some of what we call the people things. And so we may make sure that the proper care of an individual is supported by that fiduciary so they get more in-depth support. Many fiduciaries might have a nursing background or social work background, but most of them have a real support background in finance. And so many may not take a healthcare matters into their purview for care, but interview them. Go on to the national site, or the state site rather, for PFAC, Professional Fiduciaries of California, and see if you can find somebody in your area. So if she has a brother maybe who is a bit nefarious, and maybe mom's estate is complicated, or maybe she's complicated, or maybe it's just something she doesn't have time to be able to do, it's a very helpful thing. And oftentimes, even if you're sitting down with your estate planner, so if you have your home in a trust, especially if you own property in California, you should have a trust, more than likely. And so adding to that support with setting up an estate plan, and then sitting down with your estate planning attorney and reviewing who are the likely people who can manage those affairs for you. And actually, oftentimes we're being written into estate plans as well, because we've done this a couple thousand times, getting people through the healthcare crises and so forth. And when you've never done it before, you've done it a couple times, we can save so much time and energy and angst for individuals. And so we'll be added in to support a family or friend, non-professional, and then maybe they don't have anyone beyond their son or daughter. So they may add as a secondary a fiduciary in their estate plan, which can be very helpful also. And they know that they have that backing. I personally recommend that if you do that, it's nice to meet that fiduciary and know that you may have a nice connection with them, and that they should learn and have copies of some of your documents and so forth from your estate planning attorney in advance. But it's a little cottage industry. A lot of what happens, we heard in conservatorship court, or probate court rather, regarding the conservatorship of Britney Spears. And so, people are really down on conservatorships, but quite frankly, they're essential to the safety of a lot of individuals, especially our seniors. Mm-hmm. And without it, we would have a lot of chaos and a lot of horrible people taking advantage of older adults. So personally, I'm very pleased that we have an association or a licensed group like this who can step in on matters and make sure that people are taken care of.
Very needed.
Yeah. Do you think that answers her question?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, so how do they find the fiduciaries again? Like, what's the
they can go
site
on
they can go to, or
they can go onto their website. It's Professional Fiduciaries of California. I'm sure it's .org, but they look for professional fiduciaries and go onto the site versus looking up under, Yahoo or whatever the search engines are. Go onto the professional site because you can look up their number if you want. You can see their background. You can see, just like an attorney, just like any other licensed professional, you can see if they've had any kind of issues in their past, and you can feel comfortable as to whether they're the right fit for you too, because there's men, there's women, there are people who have more specialties and special needs. Maybe you're leaving a special needs trust or creating a special needs trust for a child who has disabilities. Very important to know that that individual has experience with that and comfortable with that and comfortable working with someone with disabilities. Not everybody is comfortable with that. Trust me, I've had some very interesting scenarios where people pull back. So make sure that you're the right fit with that individual too.
And so if people have different fiduciaries, have different specialties, would you ever have a situation where you have multiple fiduciaries with one client, like one that focuses on like a special needs person, but maybe they're not that strong with finances? Do you have another person that is strong with finances and they're also on board? Like, do you have a team or?
Not usually. Sometimes in conservatorships, they might set up some family members. So they distinguish your estate from you as a person and your personal care. So it's conservatorship of person, conservatorship of estate. Sometimes those might be different people. Sometimes that might be family members caring for your quote person and a professional managing your estate. But usually it's the same person. I think you can find confidence in using the same person, but that's something you can certainly talk about with your attorney. Maybe you have a very complex estate and it's something that may require different professionals for different matters. So that's a great question, honestly. And I don't know how often estate planners may create that or put that together in a plan. So great question.
Excellent.
Yeah. So how about this? We're going to go to a quick little commercial. We're just going to have a quick little show today, and we'll bring Melinda on and ask a little bit more about stress and relieving stress. Where's your Rancho Relaxo? So hold on just a second, and we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Here in San Francisco.
Yay! I know. I saw the skyscraper in the background and I was like, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So tell us. So I was actually at Rancho Relaxo last week and we were going to do a program from there. And because it's such the relaxo place, we didn't have internet. So to do that.
That's one way to relax.
Right. I brought up the question, where is your Rancho Relaxo? I mean, that could be in your head, that could be anywhere, right? How do we manage stress, really? And how do we alleviate our stress, even more importantly? So why don't you share some tips with us?
Yeah. So, I think the first thing is it's important for people to recognize when they're stressed, because I think we're used to living in a stressful world.
Okay, I think we just lost Melinda. She'll probably come back. She'll come back with us. But that said, we're here in San Francisco, and one of the biggest researchers in stress and stress relief is Alyssa Appel, EPEL, and her work has been doing research in the areas of sleep hormones and how the brain works in regards to stress and stressors to our body. Let's see if here she's back. We'll get her back in, and we'll talk some more about Rancho Relaxo. But Dr. Appel's work on stress has also been very interesting. I'll see if I can get the name of her book before we're off too. But she's a researcher from University of San Francisco. So apropos.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so tell me what are some of your tips?
The first is being able to recognize when you're stressed. And that's what I was saying when my camera went out. We live in a very stressful world. And I think sometimes people don't realize how stressed out they are. We're used to, especially living through a global pandemic, everyone who's alive right now. We're used to living in a very stressful world. And I think sometimes we're just, you just become used to, it's kind of like the glass of water. The stress drips in one drip at a time and you don't really notice it. So I think that's the first step is realizing when you're at your capacity. And you need to acknowledge that and relieve that. And I think that that's really hard. I don't even have any tips for that. I know that, sometimes like it's just reading the signs in your own being of like, okay, when I'm becoming irritable, or when things are no longer enjoyable for me, when I'm resentful of others, like there's kind of like when you're not happy, you may be,
Right.
at your capacity and you just don't realize it yet. And so realizing it, I think, is the first step. And then the second step is I tell our clients to have what we call a resource list. And a resource list is the things that you love that calm you down or that bring you out of being, a stress response. And those could be petting your dog, going for a walk,
It's
sitting
really
in the sauna.
it's creating experiences. So whether
Yeah.
they're present or whether we can reflect on a photo, it's very interesting how creating an experience, because I think it gets right down into the center of our brain too, where it's most convenient to change those thoughts and to
Mm-hmm.
kind of relish. They're talking a lot about relishing experiences and going back and returning to some of those experiences. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's really that. Yeah, of course. Um, and I think oh, there was there was something I was going to say, and then you made that great point. Yeah, even if you go inward and you're reliving a happy memory, sometimes that's enough to reduce stress. That resource list can be different for everybody. Uh, it could be as simple as taking a shower, and that there's certain there's certain there's certain physiological thing that happens when we're underwater, to the body that relieves stress.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying
agree.
to remember the
Well, I
physical.
remember my niece when the kids were really acting up, and she's like, "Oh, Aunt Mary's taking another shower again." Need to chill, which is why the spa experience is so important for people
Yeah.
too, because just relieving in that water. So I think that's great. Let's see if Steve, we're just going to do a quick show today. How about if Steve
Okay.
comes back on? I wonder if he has a sports memory or day in history on sports.
Hello.
Hello.
So before I get to that, I do have a good, I always think they're good, but I think I have a good disdain sports. But to go back to your point about stress and relief and things that we could do, I remember a good friend of mine when she had her first of two daughters. the first one, because it's such a new experience, she was always stressed, and she was always with her daughter and was afraid to leave her daughter, and um, just taking a shower, like we would go and visit, and she's like, "Can you just, the baby's sleepy, but just watch the baby. I just want to take a shower, just like a nice, long, uninterrupted,
Oh, yeah.
20-minute shower.
So
Just did
important.
world of wonder for her. So,
Yeah.
it is the little things like that. It could be, at least.
It's
I
cleansing
think
the body, mind, and everything, right?
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's the water really helps, but also just having that time where you can separate yourself,
Yeah.
because I think
Right.
part of the stress that we feel is that you're in like a stressful situation for a long, like just like a new parent is,
Mm-hmm.
and your mind never gets to unwhirl. That's what I feel when I'm, dealing with a lot, and then you get that
Right.
moment by yourself, whether it's in the
Mm-hmm.
shower for 20 minutes,
Right.
taking a nice long shower, your mind kind of
Right.
unwhirls, and you're like, oh, okay. you know?
Right.
Um, and so I think, yeah, scheduling some alone time where you can just be and just sit. And then the thing that flew out of
Mm-hmm.
my head when we were talking, Mary, is drawing boundaries,
Oh,
asking
for
for
sure.
help
We have to do that too.
and drawing boundaries. Because sometimes stress is created when we're doing too many things we don't want to do, or they may be things that we want to do, but it's too much.
Too many deadlines
It,
at one time, all of those things. We create
yeah.
some of our own stresses too. So stress is so interesting. In fact, I misspoke when I spoke about Dr. Appel. I mentioned that she was at University of San Francisco. San Francisco. She is at Cal State, or UC rather, San Francisco. So UCSF. They are a great researcher in so many areas. Great research college. And she wrote last year, she wrote the 7-day stress prescription. So something you could pick up on audio or
Mm-hmm.
pick up on a book. So, check it out and see if there's some ways you can come up with relieving some stress for yourself.
Right.
So,
And I think one easy way is put these down.
Yeah.
There was a time where I lost my phone, and I didn't have a phone for about a week. And it was one of the least stressful times in my life, because I was not constantly looking at my emails, looking at Facebook, looking at text messages, and it was just present wherever I was that week, whether
Mm-hmm.
we're at dinner or just spending time with family, but there was no interruptions. And it's hard to be off the grid
it's
for, extended period of time, but not having that constant like look at it just really helps me just relax and just be in the moment.
well,
Yeah.
I think
That
that focus
you need
too,
that really stress.
and how our younger generation doesn't have that focus from what we grew up with. They don't
Right.
have that. It's like instant move here, do,
Sure.
and that
And
calm.
you're constantly on, right? When you're always looking at your phone, you're always waiting for a message, an email, whatever. You're on that whole time, and you don't get to just unwind.
It's almost like a sense of
Yeah.
trauma all the time because you're always on alert to watch and see and move and do.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so tell us.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm just like moving all over the place so fast here too. I'm trying to create our own Rancho Relaxo, but you have to create your Rancho Relaxo. So maybe some of our viewers can let us know what they're doing to relax and create their Rancho Relaxo. And I think putting the phone away for a day is a great example of being able to do that too. So
Sure. So this day in sports, the year is 1958. Brooks Robinson was a third baseman for the Baltimore Orioles, and he hit into a triple play. Now, that's in and of itself is not such a huge deal, but it's the first of 4 triple plays that he hit into, and he holds the record in Major League Baseball of hitting into most triple plays. So kind of a dubious distinction, but a very unique thing. The triple play, for people that may not know, it's when you make 3 outs in one baseball play. In the history of baseball, there's been 733 triple plays that have been hit into. So over the course of how long we've been playing baseball, it's about 5 per year. And Brooks Robinson, when he played for the Orioles, during his time with the Orioles, at one point his team hit into 12 triple plays, and he was responsible for starting 4 of those 12 triple plays. And in looking at this and doing some research, I found a statistic that I wanted to share with everybody. It's maybe the most unique play in baseball history. It's only happened one time. It's an unassisted triple play by an outfielder. I didn't get details on it, but an outfielder by himself, with not involving any other of his teammates, made a triple play. It's only happened one time in baseball history. So it's probably the most unique play in baseball history, unassisted triple play by an outfielder.
Wow. Amazing. Really interesting. Great. So fun that you were digging up these little facts too.
I loved it. It was interesting.
You're having fun with it too. Yeah.
So that's my story.
Very cool. Well, we'll have a great show next week, and come join us at 8 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Have a fabulous weekend. I know I'll be heading back to Pasadena area tomorrow, and the conference will be over in the late day. So
enjoy the June gloom.
It sure is.
Yeah.
It was May gray and now it's June gloom, but have a great weekend, everyone.
Be safe.
Sounds good.